Welcome back to another episode of See You on the Other Side. I am your co-host, Christine, and I am here with Leah and Nathanael de Boer from Psychedelic Water. He is the creative director, is that correct? Of Psychedelic Water. Welcome, Nathanael.
Thank you. Thank you.
So can you, let's just go right into it. Give us a little background of Psychedelic Water and what that is.
Yeah, for sure. So Psychedelic Water was a long time coming. Basically, our founder is a guy named Keith. He has previous experience in the cannabis industry. And he saw a lot of the things that had happened with cannabis beginning to happen with psychedelics.
Yeah.
So at a certain point with cannabis, you had all this sort of research into the mental health benefits of these substances begin to come out. And that really sort of forecasted the beginning of this huge push for legalization, which has had varying levels of success throughout various states. I'm based in Canada, and here in Canada, it's fully legal nationwide. So he began to hear those same rumblings happening with psychedelics, and given his previous experience in cannabis, was like, well, this is something that I would love to be involved in. But obviously, none of these substances are legal in a conventional sort of like consumable sense yet. And that became the focus for him, though. It's like, how can I get involved in this, create consumer products that are accessible to people, even though this isn't something that's like fully legal in any real capacity yet. So then began this kind of journey of creating something that sort of mimicked an aspect of the psychedelic experience, recreated that in some form, but that was using FDA compliant ingredients that we were able to kind of like put into something that we could sort of have a broad reach with. And the idea with this really is we strongly believe that the presence of the word psychedelic on a can, on a shelf, in a convenience store next to a Red Bull or a Coca-Cola or whatever is incredibly powerful for the destigmatization and normalization of these substances. And again, there's a parallel to cannabis there, in that something that really helped change a lot of people's minds about cannabis was the proliferation of CBD products, which were much more widely available and allowed people an entry point into that sort of wider space that was less daunting, didn't have any sort of legal stigma around it, but really got people familiar with some of the things they could expect with the more potent or scary sort of aspects of that sort of space. So we spent a lot of time figuring out what the blend was going to be, what the actual sort of active ingredient was going to be, and we came upon kava, which is our active ingredient. Kava is a root of a plant with a super, super long history in the South Pacific. It's been consumed there for thousands of years. And it basically relaxes your body and elevates your mood, but doesn't like mess you up the same way that like alcohol would, or cannabis for that matter. Like you stay mentally intact, which is something that was really important to us because, we wanted this to be something that like you could have and could be an alternative to something like alcohol or anything like that. So that's kind of like the process of how this all came about and how we landed at the blend that we have today, which uses kava as well as damiana and a little bit of green tea to sort of create this mild mood boosting blend that just really gets you feeling good without messing you up.
I started drinking this back in the spring, and it's been my go-to instead of alcohol. I don't really drink. My husband's sober. And I remember we went on spring break and I had like, I don't know, probably 12 of these packed with us. And he's got his Bud Light Zeros. And I was like, that's so gross. Why would you even waste the calories on something that tastes like beer but doesn't, I don't know. It was just, and I'm like, and this is what I drank the whole time was psychedelic waters.
Nice.
And I have a lot of I don't want to say a lot, but like I tend to get a little anxious around a lot of people drinking. And we were with a group that was heavily drinking, and while he's drinking his Bud Light Zeros, I'm like, I'm going to drink something that's going to help calm me down, put me in a good mood. And what else is in this? L-theanine? Isn't L-theanine in this, or is that?
It's green tea.
Green tea. Okay.
Yep.
And it really did help, like,
green tea leaf extract has. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. You go.
I was just say green tea leaf extract can have like trace amounts of L-theanine in it. It's not like any sort of like notable level in this blend, but it is at a notable level. Another product, but that's another.
But the interesting thing about that spring break trip is people thought you were drinking.
Oh yeah,
because of how like the can is.
The can.
It looks so it doesn't, because oftentimes if you're around a group of people and they are drinking heavily and you're just drinking water, they're like, why are you drinking? Why are you drinking? Where people didn't ask you because they thought you were just drinking.
I was outed during one of my pregnancies because I was drinking water at a party. And that was the first thing they asked was like, are you pregnant? And I was like, I can't just drink water. So yeah, you're exact. We were with this group for a week and not a single person the entire week knew that I was not partaking in alcohol consumption.
Yeah, that's what I like about the branding of it. It's not, you don't necessarily like stick out like a sore thumb. You can enjoy it with people and people may not even notice.
They don't even care.
Yeah.
You just look like you're part of the crowd. Yeah. But you just, in my opinion, you just feel a little bit better.
Yeah. So when did this company start? Because it's a newer company, right?
Yeah. So we've been around, like a little more than a year and a half since we launched. So
wild.
We launched February of last year. Yeah. We launched with our initial 2 blends, the blackberry yuzu and the hibiscus lime. Since then, we've launched 2 additional flavors of our main psychedelic water product, oolong plus orange blossom, as well as prickly pear. And just, I guess it's probably over a month now ago, we launched a new product called Psychedelic Functional Microdose, which we can get into if you guys want. But
totally. And I saw that on the website. But so this is very new, and I feel like it's grown exponentially in a short amount of time, right? So how did you get started with this company?
I really fell into it. So my background is in tech. I've always been involved in design, but out of school, I started working in the technology space. Spent several years doing that and got really bored. A lot of the design I was doing was very like cut and dry, and I didn't really feel like I had a lot of opportunity to sort of explore stuff I was more interested in. And yeah, so I ended up kind of leaving that space, took a few months to kind of like think about like, okay, what do I want to do? I've always really been interested in packaging design. Like even when I was like back in high school, I had like a wall in my room that was just like a stack of like energy drink cans because I just loved the designs of the cans. I was like fascinated with like Rockstar and Monsters branding and how they had all these different flavors and all the different can art and whatnot. And then that sort of evolved as I got older into a very deep interest in craft beer and the branding around different craft breweries and whatnot. So I've spent a lot of time looking at cool looking cans. So that was something I was just thinking about of like, oh, it'd be interesting to get into that space. We'll see. But I kind of, after leaving tech, took a few months just kind of like, figure out what the next step was. And then I think it's probably been like 3 months since I'd left the previous job I was at. And then this sort of just fell into my lap. Like I didn't really go searching for it. It's a typical story, a friend of a friend kind of thing. But yeah, I basically found out that, close family friend, he knows the CEO of Psychedelic Water, and he goes like, oh, I know that you're in design, and like, I know you're like potentially looking for new work. Is this something you'd be interested in? And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. I'll have a conversation. And, got talking with, Pankaj, who's our CEO as well. Yeah, just kind of joined to just help them do some I basically came on in a freelance context, like just sort of like to help them out with some design stuff. They were working on some initial mock-ups actually for psychedelic functional microdose at the time. And I presented some concepts to them. And that was basically it. I was just doing like odd this and that sort of like design needs as needed. But then over time, I had a lot of opinions. I was like, oh, I'll come to that meeting. And then basically I started working with them in May, and by October I had kind of fully like immersed myself in it and basically like worked my way into a full-time role. Awesome. And then that evolved into, kind of like just heading up a lot of the design stuff for the company and dealing with some marketing things and that sort of thing as well. So that's now I handle all that stuff.
Sounds like it was kind of meant to be a little bit, because the branding, it's on point. I really like
is so good.
But I want to go into a little bit of the ingredients and what they do, because I remember having this out at work one day and I'm drinking this and I'm looking at one of my clients and I'm like, it's not illegal. Like, it's not like magic mushrooms. Yeah, I know I talk about that a lot, but I'm not going to I wax people. So I'm like, I'm not going to fuck your eyebrows up. I'm not messed up. I was trying to explain to her, just the different ingredients and what they do. And I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole with kava root and how I go down rabbit holes.
That's why I'm laughing.
That's kind of my thing. But I want to hear your take on some of the main ingredients. Kava root, how that integrates with health and mental health and all that. And what was the other one you said? Damiana?
I can't say it. How do you say it?
Damiana.
Okay.
Yeah, Damiana.
I want to know more about that one too.
Even though it's legal, you still have that euphoric feeling, but not like that drunk feeling. Yeah. Which I like. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Actually, circling back on that, it was really interesting hearing you talk about your experience drinking it in like a social context where other people were drinking. One, the people not commenting on it at all and just thinking it's like a cooler or something is awesome. That's what we want. But then secondarily, you mentioned like not feeling comfortable in those situations and it helping you to feel more comfortable. And I think that is something that separates what we're doing from like something like Liquid Death, which, I mean, great brand. Again, they do an amazing job of sort of having that covert, like I'm literally just drinking still water, but everyone thinks I'm like drinking some sort of crazy craft beer thing or something. So they're great for that as well. But it's just still water. So if you're uncomfortable in that situation, you're still going to be uncomfortable in that situation. Whereas kava has this like social lubrication effect without the social, like without the mental inebriation, without the drunk aspect of it. And I think that's what really kind of like separates what we're doing is that in those social settings, you can drink something, blend in with the alcohol consumption crowd, and then still have a physical effect that contributes to your enjoyment of that sort of social scenario.
Yeah.
I think that's what's so great about kava is that it has that sort of like social lubrication effect, that mental boost of positivity, without any of the sort of negative side effects that come with alcohol, whether that be like inebriation or hangover or anything like that. None of that's there. So as far as our blend goes, kava is really like the star of the show, basically. And then the two other active ingredients are damiana and green tea leaf extract. So damiana is a wild shrub. It has a history as like an aphrodisiac, although there's not really a lot of like hard and fast evidence for that. But if it works, it works. It definitely does have like I essentially would describe it as like kava's wingman in our blend. Like it's there to effectively like mesh nicely with the effects of the kava and just add a little bit more of that sort of like mood boosting effect. And then the green tea leaf extract is there just to basically provide a little bit of like a natural source of caffeine to offset the sort of sleepiness effects that some people experience with kava. We didn't want the blend to be like a sleepy time beverage. Now, some people who aren't particularly sensitive to caffeine do find that they like it as a sleepy time beverage, and we may release a caffeine-free blend at some point in the future. But yeah, those are like the three basic main ingredients, and kind of how they all function together to create that sort of like, yeah, that euphoric sort of feeling. And then you mentioned like mental health and that sort of thing. Obviously, like, again, there's not a ton of research on like direct mental health effects with kava, but we've primarily so far just been talking about psychedelic water as like an alcohol alternative. But there's another whole contingent of people who really, really love it as something to drink just during the day. If you're someone who works a stressful job, or you are engaged in like creative work or whatever, it's really, really great for sort of getting yourself in that good headspace, right? Like that sort of like, whether it be imposter syndrome, or just you're daunted by a busy day ahead of you, or you're feeling creatively blocked. A lot of that is, yeah, stuff that's just going on in your own head, right? And being able to kind of like take something that just alleviates that a little bit, that sort of like puts those sort of like negative self projection in the back a little bit, and just gets you being like, I'm excited, I'm engaged with what I'm doing, is fantastic. So we have a lot of people who are engaged in creative work, or have like high stress jobs, who really, really love the blend as just like a out and about during the day kind of thing, because again, it doesn't have the negative effects that that alcohol would. So it allows you to kind of get those sort of like boosts, like positive mindset and whatnot, without the kind of detriments to focus or mental fogginess and all that kind of thing. So,
well, and one of the things I was reading about kava root is it's been around for so long, thousands of years, and it's been used in the past as something for anxiety. And it helps with that. But what's interesting is the word psychedelic scares so many people because of the legalities, but there are so many psychedelics out there that are legal, that aren't your typical mushrooms, acid, the bigger named ones. And I think kava root it's technically it's a psychedelic. It's just a milder, like very mild version. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it's just not something you would take and like trip on. It's just okay.
But it still gives that like, euphoric kind of, like you're just vibing when you're drinking it.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, it really depends on like your definition of psychedelic. Like there are some people who would say, no, kava is not a psychedelic. It doesn't, blast those specific receptors in the brain, so therefore it isn't. But I don't think personally that psychedelic has that hard and fast of a definition. I saw a recent article in Psychedelic Spotlight where they were talking about, should cannabis be considered psychedelic? Is it not? So it's very clear when you begin looking at a lot of the sort of literature that's out there that there is not really a consensus on what the definition of psychedelic is, and I don't think it really super matters.
Right.
Like for us, like I said, part of the goal was to recreate an aspect of the psychedelic experience, right? And again, this will vary from person to person. Some people might not like. Some people will identify just like, oh, that sense of euphoria is something that is similar to a psychedelic experience. If you're someone who has experience with traditional psychedelics. For me, like, I think that psychedelic water does a perfect job of capturing this moment about 15 minutes into a trip, for myself at least, where I'm not seeing any visuals yet. I'm not like plunging into the depths of my own psyche or anything, but I just feel really good. And that's the moment that psychedelic water captures. Now, when I'm doing psilocybin, that only lasts for like 5 minutes, and then we're into some other stuff. But with this, we kind of take that moment and make that moment the whole experience. That's where we start and end, and that's sort of like an hour and a half, kind of as long as you'd like it to be kind of thing with our blend. And that kind of, again, really ties into that mission of sort of creating something that's accessible, that's not intimidating, that you can just get off the shelf and try. Because we really want to, for people who are leery of that word, I think, seeing it as just something on the shelf, well, maybe I will try it. And then they try it and they go, okay, this was really good. Like, how does this compare to traditional psychedelics? And hopefully it acts as that sort of gateway of interest. And then those people go on to, join their local decrim groups and foment a revolution.
So I literally just posted this morning. It's the definition of the word psychedelic, and I didn't know we were going to have this conversation, but I want to say it.
Yeah.
The Greek roots of the word psychedelic are psyche, which is mind or soul, and delos, which means to reveal, and it means revealing the soul or opening the mind. So really, I've heard people say that technically, weed, cannabis can also be a very mild psychedelic for the same reason. Like, it's opening your mind to something that you maybe didn't think about before. And I always call cannabis my gateway drug into this whole space of psychedelics, because I started like, wait a minute, if this is helping me, what else is there that could possibly be helping me that they're telling me is bad? So for me, it kind of was like an opening of my mind. So,
well, and you had a psychedelic experience doing breath work.
True. Yeah. So, and that was
exactly
something without substance. And hearing you talk about the way that you start feeling 15 minutes after drinking this, I kind of did want to talk about what it made me feel like, so people aren't thinking that they're going to get this and start tripping. So this is how I described it. You have a few beers and you start getting that very loose feeling. Like you're slightly buzzed, but you're not quite drunk, but you're like right on the edge of being feel good buzzed and one too many, because it's a slippery slope, and one more and you might be waking up with a hangover later. So for me, it was like sitting on that edge of feeling really good and buzzed, but not. I didn't feel buzzed. I just felt really good. It was the good feeling. It was the euphoric feeling without the, like, my mind's not all there feeling, if that makes any sense. So really, where everybody else is like pounding White Claws, not to hate on White Claws, I'm just giving an example.
White Claw, Truly, beer, liquor.
All of them, like whatever they're drinking and constantly drinking. I'm like, after 2 of these, that's all I needed. I was like, I feel great. I don't feel like I'm chasing a buzz. I don't feel like I need to have another one. Maybe in a few hours, I might have one more, but I never felt like I was chasing a buzz. It just felt good all around, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good description.
Okay.
Yeah.
The buzz without the buzz.
I want to start talking about now your microdosing product, because that's new and I haven't tried that yet.
Me neither.
So can you kind of
so
go into that?
This has been a long time coming. Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, when I first joined the company, which was last May, it was like a twinkle in our eye, basically. It was something that we didn't really know. We didn't really know what it was going to be. At like our initial sort of like the initial concept art that I was creating was based around it being in the same sort of format as psychedelic water is, in like a kind of a skinny can. But ultimately, if you look at the packaging of what we ultimately landed on, it's in a shot form similar to like a 5-hour energy type bottle. And basically similarly to how with psychedelic water, the goal is to kind of create capture an aspect of a psychedelic experience. The same is true here. We're trying to sort of recreate some of the effects you would experience microdosing psilocybin. But with, again, all FDA compliant ingredients, making this something that for people who are nervous about getting into any sort of gray market stuff or anything like that, it kind of alleviates a lot of that stuff. Now, of course, it's not going to be an identical experience to microdosing, because what we're using is different stuff. But I think we've done a pretty good job of sort of capturing capturing a lot of those effects and presenting it in a form that is tasty and enjoyable to kind of like associate with as a brand and whatnot. And yeah, sort of like exciting in that format. So basically, psychedelic functional microdose is a blend of some functional mushrooms. So we've got lion's mane,
Yes.
chaga, and cordyceps in there, and then some nootropic ingredients as well. So GABA, L-theanine, 5-HTP. And those are kind of what all is in the blend there. It comes in 2 flavors, peach, orange, and ginger, as well as ume and sakura. The peach, orange, and ginger is like a little spicy. It's my favorite one. I like that kind of like morning, bam, kind of shot
The burn.
of something that's going to like help my day. Yeah, exactly. And then the ume sakura is a little bit gentler. So if you're like more of like a slowly emerge into the day kind of person, that's probably maybe going to be more the one you want to go with. But yeah, they're both meant to be taken as sort of like a daily shot and to kind of just help with memory, focus, positivity, energy. Some of the nootropic ingredients as well as the mushrooms have like a stacking effect, meaning that taking them daily, you're going to experience stronger effects with repeated use, which is similar to microdosing, obviously. And yeah, that's kind of the idea. That's kind of the idea with that. So
That's where I was seeing the L-theanine.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. What exactly, you take L-theanine, or you did take supplements?
I took L-theanine for my anxiety.
Okay. That's what I was going to ask next, is what it was for. I've never taken it outside of like being in a drink or anything. And what about
so it has sort of like properties to help with anxiety. The other sort of like big benefit of L-theanine is that it has an effect on how your body sort of metabolizes caffeine. So it really like smooths out the sort of caffeine buzz that you get. So a lot of people obviously experience like a big crash after taking caffeine, and L-theanine really smooths that out, so you don't experience that crash and go from that like energy high to complete low, but it's more of like a taper off. So that's one of the big benefits of it as well.
I love that.
What is the 5-HBT? That's something I've never seen.
Yeah, 5-HTP is it's an anti-inflammatory. It also has some like anti-anxiety properties. Yeah.
So you just take it as a shot. I love this.
Yeah.
Different kind of shots than what we had in our past.
Yeah, this is more of a morning shot than a nighttime shot.
A little different. I love that.
Yeah.
Going back to the psychedelic water, is there a limit on how much you should drink? So like if you are out with your friends, should you drink the whole 12 pack, or should you? Not that I would.
We actually apply the same sort of thing you might hear when it comes to traditional psychedelics, which is like, or drugs in general, which is start low, go slow, right? Most people haven't tried kava before in any real context, so you don't know how it's going to affect you. Some people find, like me, I find like I'm quite sensitive to it, so like I am already feeling the effects off half a can. Other people, it takes 2 cans. So I think, that would be my general recommendation. Start low, go slow, figure out kind of what works for you. But there's no like strong known, like, oh, if you drink past this point, it's going to like completely like, nothing's going to go crazy, basically.
Not getting fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that. Now okay.
We'll get those Instagram comments every once in a while, which are like, how many of these do I have to drink to like, talk to God, basically? And it's like, it's not going to happen. Sorry. Like, maybe someday.
You're like, I want to go to space.
Right. We sell these on Amazon, people. Like, we can't just be like, You're not tripping balls off of this Amazon order.
For real. So I want to, we've had all of the flavors. I think pear is probably my favorite one. And then they all have the same ingredients, which I love. So there's just different flavor profiles. The microdose nootropics, like, are those the same thing and they just have different flavors as well?
Yeah. So the two blends are like the active ingredients are identical. It's just the flavor makeup that's different. And I think that does lend itself to a little bit of like a different kind of personality, type of person who might want one flavor over the other.
Yeah, you're saying you want the spicy. I don't want spicy.
I keep thinking of that TikTok.
But why is it spicy?
I wanted to say that. And then with the, how do you say it? Damiana? I keep thinking of sexy leaves because it's an aphrodisiac. I'm like, oh yeah, drinking the sexy leaves.
We're drinking the drink with the sexy leaves.
Sorry, we're weird.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. We'll get those comments too. I want to know now. I want to dig into like your experience with psychedelics, personal journeys.
Sure.
So
yeah.
Where are you at with, I mean, not where are you at? I know that's like a weird question. Like, when was your first psychedelic experience that was like meaningful?
Mm-hmm. Not that long ago, to be honest. I had it's an interesting sort of way that this has all come about because I think like I've never had a negative opinion of psychedelics. I, knew people in university who did them and stuff, but like was just not really it was just over there somewhere. It wasn't something that I was really paying attention to. And it was through the kind of process of, like I said, kind of the opportunity to work with psychedelic water sort of falling into my lap. And my interest in getting involved with psychedelic water was less about the psychedelic aspect of it initially and more about I get to make packaging. I get to design cool shit for a company that already has some cool shit out. Like, absolutely, this sounds dope. But obviously, then you're in the space all of a sudden, and then you're kind of confronted with just like all this information about the benefits of these things. And I love reading about that kind of stuff, so I started digging into it pretty deeply. And then I guess first meaningful experience would have been, like last summer.
Damn.
Just sat down, me and my wife on a lovely Sunday afternoon, just made a nice little tea and
mushrooms.
Then, mushroom tea, and then had a very meaningful experience.
It's kind of hard
really
to
good. It was really,
I love that.
Yeah.
Have you dabbled in other psychedelics or just mushrooms?
Not yet,
Okay.
but I would like to. I think that I think that I'm just going to slowly make my way through the roster, so to speak, over time.
LSD, check off the list.
Yeah, exactly. There's just a checklist on my
MDMA?
wall.
Done.
But yeah, that's sort of the plan. Yeah.
We have like a bucket list basically. And I know that sounds crazy, but it really is just experiencing one and finding that it has so much meaning and love behind it and being like, this is illegal? How is this even possible?
Yeah.
It was such a great, beautiful, positive experience. And then kind of wondering about other things, which is sort of what we do on this show, is we talk a little bit about everything.
Yeah.
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 And then we hear about it and we want to do
it. Yeah. I watched the Netflix Change Your Mind documentary when it came out, and there was one quote that really, really stood out to me from I think he was a
Major.
ex-military guy, and he had a line
this quote all the time.
He was talking about the DARE projects in the 90s and how he kind of grew up around that. And he said something like, good drugs led to an opiate epidemic and bad drugs led to me getting healed from PTSD. So I think we need to change our definition of some of these things. And yeah, that was like, yeah, that first experience I had was really meaningful. And I think as much as I'd done all the research beforehand of like, okay, setting, intention setting, all this sort of stuff, I think that for me, like doing it, I really realized like, oh, there's so much, like so much more value that I could get out of this. Like that first experience I had, it's still something I think about. I took notes, which was great.
I love that.
But like, I didn't really know what I wanted out of it, except to just experience it. So my notes are a lot of like, what's the meaning of life? Like, but not really discovering any answers. It's a lot of going in circles. So what I would love to do with some future experiences is really set like very specific things that I want to like delve into related to my own identity, stuff I've experienced in the past, things like that. Because a lot of what I've read has said, you know, like, they can be very helpful for that sort of thing. If you have these sort of like sticking points, these problems in life, it's really good to, it's a really good way to sort of like work through some of that stuff in a different sort of way. So,
well, and it's like you're connecting with yourself, but I love that you did it for the first time with your wife. Cause you are connecting to yourself, but also because you're connecting to yourself, you're able to connect with the people in your life in a much more meaningful way. So the fact that you guys did that together and connected with each other, that's special. That's cool.
The trip period was however many hours, and then there was like almost the same amount of time of just like debriefing with each other and like just talking through, like, because we both took notes and whatnot and talking through like.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Did you guys do like a heroic dose where some
stuff was coming
some
at you?
Stuff was happening?
Oh,
hallucinations?
Like, yeah.
Okay. So you're tripping some balls.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Good.
And it hit me faster than her. And so like I was like, this is crazy, this is so cool. And she's like, what do you mean? What are you talking about?
That's the one thing I haven't done with my husband yet. Well, we've done like smaller doses together, but I've always wanted to do like a larger dose at the same time just to kind of experience that. I'm an experimenter and I want to know what that feels like. And I want to see what the difference is between like a solo journey and something with him. So that's kind of cool. Mm-hmm. Definitely a different type of high than anything you would ever get from a psychedelic water.
Yeah.
Yes.
But one day,
for sure.
One day, when the legalities of this, like, do you think that you guys will ever, I mean, I feel like I'm answering my own question. It's going to be an obvious answer. Like, if this is ever something that's legal, this is going to be an option for people, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think that as much as like our goal right now is mostly related to sort of normalization and destigmatization and that sort of thing, that's with the express goal of helping speed up the process of broad sort of legalization of these substances, because then we would love to be able to offer the people in the Instagram comments who want to see God after drinking a can of psychedelic water, we'd love to be able to offer them that opportunity. So
that should be your slogan. You want to see God? Drink the psychedelic water.
I think it's crazy. I never thought about using the word as a way to help destigmatize it in the branding.
Yeah.
I never thought of that.
Yeah. That's genius.
You're like, I'm just drinking psychedelic water. What about it?
Do you guys have other hopes with other products that, even if it takes a little bit for psychedelics to become legal, with other products because you just added the microdose shot?
Yeah.
What do you guys see for the future?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the plan is to keep doing what we're doing right now, and so far as focusing on this idea of like capturing particular aspects of the psychedelic experience and offering products that help or either capture or assist in some way. Something that we've been like throwing around is the idea of like a trip sitter type product that's like doesn't necessarily have any sort of like mental effect stuff itself, but it's designed for people who are actively using traditional psychedelics as a means to either elevate or accompany their trip in some capacity. So that's the kind of stuff that we want to keep doing, though. It's either things that, recreate an aspect of a traditional psychedelic experience, or help people who are kind of doing their own thing. So we'll keep doing that, and then if and when legalization happens, then we'll start to get involved in that. But I think for the time being, that's kind of the intent. And insofar as what those products look like, I think like both of our products so far are beverages. If all goes well, I think that we'd be definitely open to getting into other stuff. I don't know, cookies, tea,
Gummies.
whatever, gummies, yeah, different things like that. Other consumables, again, sort of like common snack type stuff.
Love a mushroom snack.
Yeah, right?
Fucking awesome.
Little mushroom snacks. I think this is like a really good alternative, especially for people who, we've had a lot of people reaching out about like the drinking, and one of these days we're going to get into an episode about alcohol and the reason maybe I don't drink or my husband doesn't drink. And we want to get into that. But a lot of people have a very hard time separating themselves from the groups of people that they're hanging out with because of the alcohol consumption. Mm-hmm. So I love that this is kind of allowing you to exist in this space still. Mm-hmm. And still stay true to what you want to do and what you believe in and what you don't believe in. And I don't know, it's healthy.
Yeah. No, the sober curious movement has been like one of the biggest sort of like communities that's like really like fallen in love with what we're doing. And that's been awesome to see. Like we've had people who, like they'll DM us just being like, hey, I'm celebrating, a year sober today, and I like love your product. It's been really helpful. It's something to just kind of like be able to have that doesn't mess me up the same way, and keeps me in control and that sort of thing, and doesn't have the same negative health aspects of it. All different sort of things, whether it be like addiction related or just sort of like wanting to make healthier choices. We did like for Sober October last year, we did a little campaign. The tagline for it was "Sobriety is psychedelic," and people loved it. Like just as a sort of just a thing to say and kind of put out there. So it's been really, really cool to see that community really like adopt, like latch on to what we're doing.
Yeah. That's funny you say that, because I am a personal trainer. Used to own a gym, now just, do in-home training or whatever. And I have a client who recently got sober, and she just ordered a case of psychedelic water.
Nice.
Yeah. Cause that's like, she wants to continue to go have fun and hang out with people in a sober environment and still like be able to have a drink that's not just water or a soda or whatever.
Well, and I think a lot of addictions are a lot of it's just habit. So smokers, even with smokers, when they're trying to quit smoking, they're like, have something in your hand, have a sucker, have something that, play with a pen, just because you're so used to having something in your hand. And if you're a heavy drinker, or maybe not even a heavy drinker, if you're just a drinker in general, having something in your hand that also tastes good.
Right. Yeah. Who wants to drink water? I drink that all day, every day. Like I'm doing this interview, did a microdose, drank a can of psychedelic water. I'm like, I am feeling good.
Yeah. We're going to have a great day. So yeah, I would much rather have something in my hand that was good for me and tasted good and wasn't getting me fucked up. So I love what you guys are doing.
It's refreshing too.
It's really good.
Yeah.
How can people find you guys?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, for sure. So we're on the internet, psychedelicwater.com. We're on social media. Just search psychedelic water. I think the specific like Instagram, it's at psychedelic_water. On TikTok, we're at psychedelic water without the underscore. And then if you want to find us in real life, we're available at 500 500 plus retail locations around the US, which is crazy. Like, I can't believe that we've managed that, given the fact that we've only been around for a year and a half. We're available at all Urban Outfitters locations across the US, including Hawaii and Puerto Rico, which is very cool. I don't know why I care about that, but
I love Urban Outfitters. That's where my shirt's from. Like, I love Urban Outfitters.
We were just talking about Urban Outfitters yesterday. Yeah. One of the days.
I don't get out much because I just order your stuff online. Like,
same. Amazon. Amazon, baby.
And yeah, so I haven't ordered your the microdosing shots yet, but that's next on the list. And you know, I had no idea that you got. I want to search for you now. Like, that's my goal. Like, I'm gonna be out in public and I'm gonna try to find them.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you go to the where to buy page on our site, we have a store locator, so you can, you know, punch in wherever you guys are at and find the closest sort of locations. But yeah, we're available in all Urban Outfitters locations. And then for folks in the like greater LA area, we're in all Erewhon locations over there. We're in all of Foxtrot's locations, which are Chicago, Dallas, DC, I think. And then a bunch of independents throughout. So I think we're in most states. There's a few, sorry, North Dakota or whatever, but like, most states we have at least like one location, and then yeah, like 500 locations throughout the country. That's and awesome. A lot in like the New York area and the LA area, Texas, and that sort of thing. So.
And you said you live in Canada. Are you from Canada?
Yeah, I'm Canadian.
This stereotype of Canadians being so nice is so freaking true. They're so nice.
It's such a good stereotype to have.
It's a good stereotype, but it's true. Every Canadian I've met is so nice.
I don't even want to know what ours is.
Bad.
Don't tell us.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
We're the exceptions. Yeah, I love all of this. So we'll plug you guys for sure on our Instagram. Whenever we drop this episode, we'll let you guys know where to find them, their website, their Instagram. And I feel like you guys, so this psychedelic wave that's happening, this renaissance that's happening, you all are just riding along with it.
No shit.
Like it seems like it happened so fast. Yes. And it's going to keep going. So I'm excited for you guys to like grow along with this and see where you all are in a couple of years.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming on.
We have one more question.
Oh, we do?
Yeah, we do. So you talked about your psychedelic experience with your wife. Okay. Mm-hmm. For our listeners who have not had a psychedelic experience yet, what would you say would be the biggest lesson or takeaway from your experience?
Ooh.
Sit back. Think Tough about one. It.
Yeah, just see that big sit back.
I know.
I've been like sitting on my chair like this the whole time. Oh no. I think, and this relates to a conversation I actually had with a friend of mine a little while ago. What's the best way to word this? Awkward silence. I think the biggest takeaway for me was that, and I don't know, I was trying to come up with a fun little eloquent way to say it, but whatever, I'll just
say it.
Try and get it across. But basically, like, I've come across this belief amongst some people that an experience isn't real unless you are stone cold sober, whatever. And that any experience you have under the influence of some external thing is not real. That is bullshit. Like, those things that you're ingesting, those things that you're bringing into your experience are not presenting you with an experience that is not reality. They are simply allowing you to access an aspect of reality that you are not usually in touch with. So in the context of this conversation I had with my friend, we were talking about how I was just, you know, I talk about this shit all the time now with people. So I was talking about some studies I've been reading about couples using MDMA in a therapeutic context to work through sort of like really like hot button issues in the relationship that they couldn't resolve. And I was talking about how like MDMA basically has this effect of sort of like allowing you to talk about things that elicit really heavy emotions without experiencing the really heavy emotions, and how it allows people to kind of like do this stuff that they wouldn't be able to do otherwise. And it's like, but aren't they like not really doing it then? They're doing it like because of the drugs. And it's like, no, like the drugs are just taking away the shit that's like wrong with you, or like that the parts of you that are like making it so you can't grow, you can't like evolve in this sort of relationship or through whatever problem you're facing. And they're just acting as a tool, just as any other thing would. Yeah. Like, you know, no one's saying this about going to couples therapy. The couples therapy is a tool. This is a tool. Yeah. It's a means by which to access an aspect of yourself or numb a part that is preventing you from doing something you want to do. So that would be if I was to present someone with some advice about psychedelics broadly, is the experience you're having is real. I mean, yes, technically the walls aren't purple and pink, but like that's just fun. Whatever.
It's the feeling,
the sort of things that you're feeling and the things you're working through in your mind. Like, don't like look at those. For me, like it's like I'm not looking at those notes I took during that trip and going like, okay, this is all just like random BS from my brain. It's like, well, it is random BS from my brain, but it's random BS from my brain. Like it's like this is the stuff that was going on there, and taking this dose of these mushrooms allowed me to focus on those thoughts and really engage with them in a way that I would not have been able to or willing to otherwise. So
I absolutely love that.
Such a good answer.
I know.
And I'm glad you took some time to think about that, because what's funny is we just released an episode today where we talked about that exact same thing with
our MDMA
psychedelics, and especially both of our MDMA experiences. We tapped into to certain feelings and, you know, had realizations about, you know, why we acted a certain way, and we acted a certain way because of something that happened that made us feel a certain way when we were a child. And in a sober state, we wouldn't have even had the probably cognition to even put those puzzle pieces together.
No.
And
to add to what you were saying, you know, it is a great tool. You know, it's something that my husband and I do, I don't want to say on a regular basis, maybe like once or twice a year to reconnect, because what I say it does for us is it brings love back to the top.
Yeah.
So all the anger and resentment or just life getting in the way that kind of like starts piling on top of our relationship, like it just removes all of that. And it's like a fresh start, but we're able to reconnect in a way that like we wouldn't be able to do without those tools.
Yeah.
So I think you and your wife may need to have a date night at home.
Your next journey.
That idea that like twice a year MDMA
it's become my birthday present, honestly. I've said he's not so great with gifts, so I'm like, I just want to do drugs on my birthday. That's all I want. Like, it's a great birthday present. It's a gift. So, the gift that keeps on giving. So anyway, thank you for taking the time to talk with us today. I loved that answer so much. I'm glad you took the time to.
We need to move to Canada.
I know. No, we have a job here. Our job is here. We got to spread the word. So, and we'll be in touch with you soon. Thank you so much. And to all our listeners, we'll see you guys on the other side.